Hey, before I say anything else, I'm going to tell you something I basically never put online. My real name is Metan, but everywhere else, to everyone, I'm Furia. I'm 17 years old, I'm a cybersecurity student in here, Germany, and out of my bedroom I built ZeroTrace, and still do. I built the small devices that teach people how hacking actually works. You're never going to see my face in this video, I get to why, and for once, I really want you to know who I am, the actual person. Not the rumors, not the guesses, just me. So let me start at the beginning properly. Fourier isn't some random tag I grabbed. It comes from the Fourier transform the math that reads the heartbeat, the thing inside ECG machines. Because for a long time I wanted to be in the medical cybersecurity field, protecting the machines that keep the people alive and stuff. And I was into it enough that I got my first aid certificate in school. About 3 books about it. I never became a doctor, and life put me somewhere else, but I kept the name because it was the first thing I ever really chose to be. I turned 17 this past April, and honestly, I am in no rush to get older. And everyone assumes, basically, that's also true, but everyone assumes a kid can't wait to grow up, be 18 or whatever. But I actually like where I am, and I go to school, I come home, I build, I have no rent to pay, no bills, nobody depending on me yet. And it's not a small thing for me, it's for me freedom actually, and I know it won't last, but I am making the most of it. I just call myself a cybersecurity student, and it's the easiest and most honest way to put it. When I say I'm a hacker or whatever, it sounds edgy and weird. Also, calling yourself a founder at my age sounds even more edgy. And here's a small thing you should know upfront. When you look at my brand, everything says we are building this, we are launching that. But we is almost just me. The product, the manufacturing, the marketing, the code, the support, the shipping, and everything is done in my small bedroom. All of it. The only part I don't do myself is the electric engineering part, which I hire real engineers for, and the 3D case and the logo, which a friend handles, and sometimes, of course, the support tickets and the Discord is also by with friends. And everything else is one person in one room. But none of that really explains how I got here or why any of this matters. For that, I have to take you back to a small town near Cologne and that to the year that changed everything. And same place I lived since I am born, the same room. And one day I love to get somewhere calmer, bigger, of course. And here's something most people get wrong about me. I'm not fully German. I was born here, but my parents actually come from Turkey. So my home is Turkish and culture, everything. I'm a Muslim, and I love everything about that, the faith, the food, all of it. If anything, the only real German part of me is the engineering side, the old cliche German engineering. I happily take that. I was an only child, so for most of my life, it was just three of us, me, my mom, and my dad. And I want you to know what kind of kid I was because it matters. I was a quiet kid, the loner. I got bullied a lot in my young age, not for doing anything weird, but just for being a kid that was not talking much, and I don't know why nobody went around. My grades also was on early very bad, but somewhere it switched in me, and I turned it all the way around. I got straight A's the rest of my life or school life. I'm still in school, by the way. I got good with my teachers, and I have no many friends. It's going pretty good, I would say. And that same loner kid with no friends, no place, football in a public park with total strangers. Let me explain about the public park. It's just a park where people show up, you play football, It's what I do mostly on my weekends, and I really love it because football is one of my favorite sports, and it's really fun. Now, the real beginning of all this, it was games. When I was little, from about 8 to 11, I was completely a gamer, and it still gets me. My mom bought me proper high-end gaming gear back then, even though we did not have the money for it. I got into gaming cheats then I want to make my own, and that's what put me into programming. I was 11. I taught myself off YouTube, then by failing over and over, then from people who were better than me, actually showed me how and said how it works, what's better. Then I started with Python, C Sharp, and then Golang. And lately, what I'm trying to learn is Rust and C++ more better. And I won't pretend that I'm fluent in any of them, but I can build what I want, which is the most important thing for me. Then making my own stuff, then my own stuff got cracked, and my programs, my websites. And I was at first very angry and didn't know how this happened and why. But then I got obsessed actually how this works, like how they did do it and how they stop it. That's the door that walked me through cybersecurity. I was 13, about 13, 14, and I have to be clear because people love to make this bigger than it is. I was never some elite hacker, no movie stuff, simple things. I was just poking at websites, taking tools apart, reverse engineering, the basic stuff, also learning how SSL pinning works, virtualization, obfuscation, which was the most important thing to protect my apps and websites. And it was something really fun for me because every day I learned something new, not at the extent of being professional, but something that actually made fun and woke me up at night saying, "Oh, how could I do that?" and stuff like that. And that got me hooked on building tools that automate exploits, especially SQL injection. Still my favorite corner of the whole field. Even if I admit I don't know that deeply. I'm into it, but I'm probably not good as many others. And then the same year, I was 13, my dad died. I still can't fully explain what that does to you. It's like I went from being 13 to 30 overnight. My mind just started working differently. I stopped seeing the world like a child. My mom had to go out and work, and I couldn't just sit there. I felt like I had something to do also. So I tried every little way to make some money, and it didn't work out because the tools I made, the automation tools, no one bought. And honestly, if I think back, it was terrible tools, but still, I tried my best. And one day, I asked my mom to buy me some cheap electronics of AliExpress and Amazon. And like always, and I really mean always, she didn't say no. The first month, I was pretty much useless. I get a board, break it in an hour, burning through money just to destroying things. Not in a bad way, but because I was bad and terrible. But breaking them over and over is how I learned soldering and electronics basics. And that's where the hardware started of me. Out of my worst years of my life. The moment it really clicked came from one thing, the Hack 5 Rabataki. The first time I saw it, I thought it was the coolest object on the earth. I still kind of do. I want one so badly, and even though my mom again didn't say no, it was so expensive for us. I felt I felt bad even letting her get it. So instead, I found an open source project called Bruce and started contributing to its firmware. Actually, it was my first PR, and it was the first time also working on firmware. So I learned how these things work underneath a little chip called, I think it was the CH9329, all of it. And with that, I built the first version of the ZeroTrace, what is now. It was ugly, bulky, and could do barely anything. No feature that's now in the ZeroTrace, but it did the most important thing: run a script, turn off a LED, and it was it. It was boring or even bad if you think about it, but Back then, for me, it was mine, and it's something I probably never forget. That one moment when it worked. The first time I flashed a cheap little ASP chip and made it like a single LD. That's nothing most for the most people, but to me felt like I could control the world, and it's still one of the best feelings I ever had if I think about it. So let me tell you plainly what these things are. They are small devices built on ordinary cheap ASP chips, and you can buy that teach how these attacks really work. Wi-Fi, HID, Bluetooth, the learning tools for students, hobbyists, or professionals, or even people that just want to do simple HID stuff, as example. And for the kind of person who understands something better than seeing it or reading about it. For example, as me, I rather watch a video about coding than read something about it. It's for me easier and better. And the whole thing is still just me in that room. People picture a company, a team, an office. It's a desk, but it's a real business. It makes money. At 17, my mom believed in me and put money behind me, behind it, about 200 euros. Then I made with that 200, I made 400 and then more. And every time instead of spending what most people would do, I invest back, straight put back in, reinvest until you get where you're going and where you want to be. And once it actually started making money, it was crazy. I didn't expect this, and then I started quietly taking care of her because she needed it more than me, and she never wanted to take it, but I tried to give it silently or like behind her, Like as example, I just pay when we're at the grocery store or in a restaurant or ordering food. She says pay with my account, and then I paid my one, and then she smiles, which is the best part. And it hasn't been smooth though. My biggest sales day, I shipped about 80 packages, and then one after another, every single one came back. I genuinely thought that was the end of my ZeroTrace project and that I will make negative money and lose all my money I ever earned, plus my mother's money because she would need to pay the customers back. And what pulled me out of that situation wasn't some crazy smart plan. It was people, my friends, like Ghost Threads, Mihai, Foxy, and of course my mom. And that was one of the maybe 10 times I almost quit. Every time I came out a little harder to break. Because if this story has a hero, it isn't me, it's my mom. It's when I was little, before there was money, she feed me first and go hungry herself. So just so I'd be happy. Everything I built has that somewhere behind it. And where I am, really. On the of it, underneath everything. I'm an introvert. Less than I used to be, of course, but still. People would call me smart but lazy, and if I'm honest, I'm more a stubborn person in a way that I can't switch off. My brain just won't let me quit while there's one more thing left to try. I need a reason for everything. Tell me to do something with no logic behind it, and I genuinely can't. I don't think of myself as a genius or anything. I think more of myself like jack of all trades, master of none, which my friend taught me once. I have many uncertain days constantly. I never had the ego to feel sure about myself, and still don't do. And so when I'm stuck, I ask my friends, I ask my mom, and I sit with it until I know what's right. I get nervous just asking for help in a shop, but there's one thing I will never bend on, and that's honesty. I will try. I will try to stay with the truth always, which is why I want to be straight with you about the rest, because now that's all you know of that, where I am, where I come from, everything I built and why. I can finally take about the version of myself that's actually out there. Because if you heard of me at all, it's usually nothing. like what I just told you. The big one, people are convinced that I run a botnet, that my device is secretly hook onto your Wi-Fi and become part of some army and control, or that I'm a government spy building these to help catch people. And I get why it sounds plausible from the outside. My devices authenticate offline. They don't call home. They don't rely on any internet connection or cloud to do their job. A device that's quietly watch you is the exact opposite of the entire reason I do this. Privacy is the whole point. It's literally why I won't ever show my face. Then there's one I generally catch hate for. My firmware is closed source, and I know in this world that's not the answer people want. But my firmware runs on almost any ESP30 S3 board. You don't need some special hardware like Flipper. So if I opened it up and I lose sales because that's what my products are unique about, the firmware, and I won't be alive anymore, and it will be cloned in seconds. And I knew that from the day one because it's not my first time making a project or working with someone else or publishing a project for free. I have been working on so many tools since I'm 13, 14, and it's how it works, how the people are. It's you can't trust people. You can't say, oh, they're probably going to be honest, and yeah, probably they read me and don't do anything. But that's not like the whole world works. And also, plenty of others keep theirs close for the same exact reason. I'm just the one that gets dragged for it. And if you look at the Flipper Zero, the reason they can do it open source because the hardware is fully custom, and you can just replicate it by buying something from AliExpress and with the STM or whatever they MCU use. It's fully custom, fully adjusted for the hardware. And people call me also a copycat too. And here's the truth: for years, I had no money for an engineer or a custom board. It was the cheap dev boards or nothing. It was only after I made real money and I had an actual engineer that I could build these devices I've been dreaming of the whole time. The same ones people now call copies. And it really stings because I never could afford anything. I could just take a loan or something. I was when I started ZeroTrace, I was 15. I talked with Ghost Threads or so many people about it, and it just wasn't possible to get me some custom board. I needed some money, some funds, some balance to actually invest in it. And first was to get even an engineer to make it, and then after the engineer get some stock, test it, and then after testing it, you need to make sure this device is fully safe, has no issues, will is FCC is European conform. You need to make sure it's fully safe for everyone. It shouldn't burn, it shouldn't crash, it shouldn't do something weird. So that was also an issue because many engineers you can get for very cheap, but their work is also cheap. And underneath all of it has been this: almost from the moment I started, I was blacklisted. People I wanted to work with just wouldn't, strange reasons or mostly no reasons at all. Some of them just decided they didn't like me, and I couldn't figure out why. On top of that, the name I picked, ZeroTrace, which I got from asking AI for a privacy sounding names, already belonged to another company with a genuinely bad reputation, and people kept mixing us up. Their mess became my mess. So I'm doing the thing I always do when I need to take a breath. I'm starting over. The new name is Net Security. The Net is German for network plus security, as you know. No confusion, a clean name, clean start, clean life. It's the same devices, it's the same person, me, same rules. Just a name I can finally build on and build my own reputation. And through all it, I still get reduced to my age. People say he's just a kid, he doesn't know anything. And I've been called skit. I don't even understand this. If you look at my GitHub, I publish so many own projects, and yeah, even though I've been coding since 11 and doing security since 13, The strangest part of being blacklisted is that the biggest things I do go unnoticed, and the smallest mistake from ages ago, as example, I will hold forever. And despite every bit of that, here's why I'm going. One day I want to be out of Germany, not because out of hate, but the rules of businesses like mine are brutal. Endless of paperwork and licenses I pay, even though I don't make so much money. I want to go somewhere calm with my mom, and I want this company to become something real big, a company that people actually love, making genuinely new hardware and software, not copies of anything. And for me myself, one day I want to probably learn electrical engineering and also professional software engineering. I can do coding, I have no issues, but I want to be at the level of a senior software engineer, and I'm on my way to do that. And that's the one piece I still have to hand someone else. So if you came into this, sure, I was a scammer, spy, or some rich kid playing pretend. No, you've seen the whole thing. And about regarding the rich kid, my father, before he has that, he was a car washer, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. I never seen money much. I couldn't even buy sometimes chocolate or whatever I wanted. I had nothing mostly, and it was just a bad gaming PC with some high-end gaming keyboard with RGB like from Razer, and it was the best thing I had. And I'm not complaining. If you see, I'm. It's the person where I am now. I am a honest person, and I try to be honest. I try to be sticking to the truth, and all I'm asking is that you look what I put into this before you decide. And if you're young, sitting in your room thinking you're too young to alone or to whatever, to build something real, just start. I mean it. What's the worst thing that can happen? It's nothing. That's the secret nobody will tell you about being our age. You don't pay rent, you don't pay for food, you're for free. For most people, of course, not every kid, but still. And I only wish I trust myself the way I'm telling you this. That's the one thing I've been always short on trusting myself. I have still that issue that I'm not sure, and so let me be the one who says to you, because I really need to hear it. My name is Metan. I go by Furia. I'm 17 years old. This started as ZeroTrace and it's become net security, but the name was never the really point of it. I built a lot of broken little device in my childhood room, and still do, and on my mom's last years, in the worst year of my life. I just want it to live.